Talking Music with Big Andy. In this episode, Tokyo Taboo, for Talking Music with me, Big Andy. Welcome to the podcast. I have with me today Dolly Daggerz from the band Tokyo Taboo. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, I was a little confused by exactly how long you guys have been going as a band.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I mean, we started writing music together probably about 11 years ago. This month it's been like 11 years.
Right.
So it must be, I mean, it depends when you decide a band starts, right? Because we were in a different project before that, which was more about me being a solo artist, and then Tokyo Taboo kind of came in 4 or 5 years after that.
Right.
But yeah, we've been working together for a long time.
And it's you and Mickey Danger, you're the two main people, but obviously there are other people in the band. But are they is that a kind of a flowing sort of revolving band, or do you have a set rhythm section?
Okay, so yeah, at the moment we have a set rhythm section, just because we have George on drums and Jules on bass, and they've sort of been doing the gigs for quite a while, and you get used to each other and you get used to how it all works, and you get used to playing together, and it works quite well. But me and Mickey Danger are the ones who make the decisions, and we will fund everything, for example. So it's sort of like our project, which makes it easier, because sometimes in a band, if you have 4 people with their opinion, you never really get anywhere, whereas with 2, it's slightly easier to decide on things. So that's how it works at the moment.
Cool. So your first album, Sixth Street Psychosis, you got a lot of radio play from that. You had a lot of radio interest. Has that kept going, or is it kind of was it kind of an initial sort of furore and then it's kind of settled a bit?
So the way it works is, when you have a record like an album, you will pay for like a radio plugger to push the album, and that's usually centered around, like, they like to have a real release that's like the main focus. After that first album, we've really just done singles. So that's a bit different for radio pluggers. They like to just push one thing with like a few songs on. So yeah, that's why we got a lot of attention, I think, with the first album, just because we paid for pluggers to do their job.
No, that's fair enough.
It's the same for any band. That's how you get radio play and radio mentions and stuff. I don't think it's never really like organic. I don't think there's such a thing anymore. I think you just have to spend money on someone pushing the band.
It's a strange situation. I think we're in a situation now where it's easier for people to get music out to the public, but it's a lot harder for them to get it aired on TV and radio.
There's just so many bands. That's the thing, and I think anyone can just put up a release. So there's not really like it's a good thing, really, because it means that any artist can just, has access to an audience. But then there's just a lot of volume. So yeah, I think it's good to be a little bit like different if you can be. Not that we try to be different, but we've always been a little bit different way.
Yeah, I mean, you have a very different sort of approach to things. I think it's. I mean, what would you say? I mean, I hate the whole thing about putting people into genres, but I mean, you know, for some reason, people still need to have it spelt out for them. But I mean, would you say you play as punk rock, or would you say it's?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the song, really, right? Because we also have like a couple of ballads, you know, which wouldn't be classed as punk rock, right? So, but I would say like some of the songs are more punky, and then maybe some are more pop rock, maybe. That would be, I don't know, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I like the stuff you do. I really do. It's got a really good. If I didn't know that you were a London band, I would have sworn that you were American, because the sound you have and the feel you have for the music and the videos is very much a kind of American pop punk sort of.
That's our influence, really. I really liked Paramore and Hailstorm and Green Day and so many American bands. Our producer that we worked with on the first album is American too, so he has, you know, so that's probably he shaped a lot of the things that we did, and sound wise he basically like made our sound a bit, so that, I mean, yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it, that it would sound a little bit American.
I mean, even the look you have is kind of, I know that sounds quite strange saying a band's look is American, but it kind of fits in very much with that kind of, as you say, the Paramore sort of vibe and style. It works really well. I really like what you do. The other thing that I came across a number of times is the fact that you have been quite outspoken about the treatment of women, both in bands and in the audience at rock shows and in general. Is that something? I mean, that's obviously something you're very passionate about.
Yeah, well, being female.
Yeah.
I think if I was like transgender or something, I would be very passionate about transgender rights, which I am anyways. But I think just because being in a male space and being female, because the music industry is a male space, it's, you know, if you look at record labels, there's not really very many women in the music industry making decisions. And then also if you look at the majority of bands or musicians, they're usually male, and, you know, you could just have a little look at festival lineups and it's usually male, and, you know, you just get a bit tired. But yeah, there are female bands, there are female fronted bands, there are female musicians also, and there are you know, booking agents, and there are management and so on with female front people. But the thing that I find a bit hard is just when you're at gigs, there's really very little, if there are females in the audience, they're a minority and they usually don't feel safe, whether it's obvious in the moment when you talk to them or not. We've had moments where I've talked to female fans and they have mentioned, oh, this guy is following me, this guy's asking me where I'm staying. Just this kind of behavior that you know, makes women feel like a little bit unsafe, which is unacceptable really, but it's where we're at, so
I do take your meaning. Interestingly, I mean, I have been doing, I did one season of this show, and then this is my second season, and interestingly, I think I've interviewed more bands that are female fronted.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Than I have male, and there seems to be a growth in that. There seems to be a lot more women involved, especially in rock music and indie rock music, than there have been for years. And I find it interesting that there are more women getting involved in the bands, but they're not so well represented when it comes to the bookers and the record labels and all that kind of thing, and in the audience, which is it's quite interesting that it doesn't seem to have translated to that yet. Hopefully it will. I worry sometimes when I've been to see all female bands and the audience is made up almost entirely of men. You do wonder whether the men are there for the right reasons, if you like. Are they there for the music? Are they there for the artistry of the musicians? Or are they there purely and simply because it's a group of women up on stage?
Yeah, well, I get asked that a lot, and we've had like comments with that kind of question, but my answer has always been, I really don't care. Like, they are there and they are there to support the band. So whether they're there because they like watching women on stage or what, I actually don't care. And I don't think it should really be like a question that people have. I think it's more about how do we get women to come to gigs, and how do we get women feeling safe enough to come out and be in the crowd amongst men. It's more that question I think we need to be asking, because you know, like the other question isn't really going to get us anywhere, like whether they're there for whatever reason, and they're actually usually supporting music, and they're usually buying bands merch, and they're usually there like promoting shows. So who cares, right? It's just like,
no, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of the problem is it's not just when it comes to things like rock concerts and that sort of thing. I think that the majority of women feel unsafe in society anyway, because of the fact that if you look at it, I mean, there is so much misogyny and violence towards women in society in general. And I think that you know, until you deal with it on a level where it's encompassing the whole of society, you're not going to stop it at things like rock concerts and sporting events and things like that.
Yeah, well, I think part of it comes down to, there's this, like, obviously we haven't really talked about the pole dancing aspect of the live show, which I'm sure we were going to get to anyways, but hang on, my cat is crying, I need to let her out.
Okay.
Sorry. Go on out. Go back again. Yeah, so with that, the pole dancing thing, I do notice at shows that there's this kind of like problem with me not wearing that many clothes. And it's not necessarily from men. Like, obviously men are not going to complain about that, but it's sometimes just the looks of other women, you know, they're looking at me like, and when, I don't know if you know this, but 2 years ago I was actually assaulted while performing. So someone grabbed me from behind while I was actually mid-song, and I was just shocked, and I was like, oh. And I didn't really, when something like that happens to you, you don't necessarily think logically, so I just kind of continued performing. And it was Mickey Danger who called out on stage, don't touch someone unless, you know, no, like I didn't, like, you know, unwarranted kind of touching of someone is not right. But there's this feeling of, if you're wearing very little clothing, then you're kind of asking for it. That's kind of the idea that out there, and I think that's very damaging. And I think the problem also is that other women do feel like, oh, she's not wearing enough clothes, I feel uncomfortable kind of looking at her, like, why is she not wearing enough clothes? And you have this, they feel really uncomfortable being around you.
I mean, I've come across some women who have the attitude that it's like, if you're out there showing your body off and dancing provocatively and all this kind of thing, then it makes them a target, because of the fact that men assume that all women are therefore, you know, it's
male gaze, right? So I could be wearing very little clothes, and because there's a man looking at me, that's where the issue is. It's not that I'm wearing little clothes, it's the it's man, right? It's so that becomes like very complicated and weird to understand. But I always say in our shows, because I feel the gaze of other women looking at me, and maybe I'm just being oversensitive or feeling insecure in that moment or whatever, but I do sometimes feel like there's this kind of like look that's like, oh, like, why is she wearing low clothes? Like, they feel really uncomfortable. So I do say, like, on stage, I say, you know, women all deserve respect, whether they're wearing a burqa, whether they're wearing jeans and a t-shirt, whether they're wearing, you know, gothic kind of outfit, whether they're wearing like very little clothes, which obviously with pole dancing you need to wear something, don't know if anyone knows this, but if you're wearing few clothes, it's not necessarily to gain attention or whatever, it's actually just so that you can stick to the pole, so you have skin to the pole. Yeah, so like this thing of like little respect for women who are showing more skin, which is obviously something that needs to be like tackled a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the thing with the pole thing is, I mean, I know a few women. I don't, you know, there are people I know that went to school, kids I know that went to school with my son, and their parents, their mums do pole thing, but it's a fitness thing. There is this societal thing where they equate pole dancing with stripping, and
which makes sense because it came from strippers, right? But even if I was a stripper, I still would deserve respect, and
absolutely,
that is the bottom line, is just other women and men looking at women and being like, oh, she is lesser because she makes money from her body or whatever. It's just a real disaster, because when I was assaulted, the one thing, like, no one said, oh, you should be wearing more clothes or anything like that, but it was sort of like, one of the guy's friends said to me as we were leaving, because we basically did the gig, I felt really horrible, wanted to go home. So when we were up all our stuff, one guy said, oh, well, you're not wearing that many clothes, are you? You're not cold, like that to me. So he wasn't blaming me, but there was this aspect of like having to say something about what I was wearing, not to justify what the other guy had done, but it was almost like, you know, you could see where his thought process was going. I was just like, oh, just get me out of here, just let's go home.
Yeah. No, I understand that completely. It's as I say, I think it's an issue in society that needs to be dealt with. It's a thing that I mean, not just between men and women, but mainly between men and women. I think that it's this thing that it's men need to take responsibility for their reaction to the way that women behave and are dressed. The women should be able to dress and behave in the way they want to make themselves feel comfortable, or to make themselves feel however they want to feel. It's how you react and deal with that is the problem, and I think that needs to be done. I think we need some education about it, especially for younger guys, because I think once you've matured a little bit more, you kind of you gain a bit more understanding of what respecting other people means.
Yeah. Also, you've got to understand with pole and with anything where someone is in little clothing, that person actually probably feels vulnerable anyways, right? So not always, I mean, there's some people who are very confident in their own skin, but there were moments on the last tour that we did there where I was just like, oh, I just kind of want to be wearing loads of clothes right now. I don't really want to be, but it was part of the performance. Part of our band, and I didn't really want to like not do pole because it's part of, so there's that too. It's not necessarily like someone might think like, oh, she's so confident and she's like, you know, she's showing off her body, but for me, like it's not about that. I think people just don't get it sometimes.
I think the thing for me is the fact that you wouldn't, I don't know that many men that would think of acting the same way towards women who are swimming or doing gymnastics, and there's no real difference.
No, well, it's just because of the stripper connotations, like of past history and so on. But that's actually a really amazing thing, because women making money for themselves, you know, and creating this performance art that is seen as like disgusting for whatever reason. I think that's quite interesting, and that's just, I don't know why it's seen as disgusting. Like it's
no.
Our body. It's really interesting that people have this idea that it's dirty, and like, yeah, it's really weird. When it's an amazing art form, people can turn themselves upside down and like do really,
I mean,
things, and yeah,
the muscle control and core body strength that you need to be able to hang upside down by your leg on a pole is incredible. And I'm amazed that anyone can do it.
Yeah, it's an art form. It can be like stripper-esque, which is fine. It can be more like ballet. It can be more like gymnastics. But it's just just the thing of other people that we need to change. Just like, yeah,
absolutely.
Whereas that's.
Does your feelings on that? Does that kind of inform or have anything to do with the creative side of things and your songwriting and that sort of stuff?
I don't know, actually. I think it's like a creative outlet, definitely. So it's different, right? Because with pole and stuff, it's more like using my body to express something, and then with songs, I guess it's still quite physical, but it's different. It's more like because I usually write lyrics, it's more I don't know, more like talking, you know. It's a bit more, yeah.
Well, moving away from that side of things, because I don't want to get caught up in that. That's only one small part of what you do as far as about the band's concerned. But moving on to something that could equally be as what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial, maybe. The video for your song "American Dream."
Oh yeah.
Was. I completely agree with your stance on the whole issue of Trump, and I loved that song and that video. The video was incredibly well made.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we use this technology called deep fake, which is where you get someone of a not really a similar build, but just someone who could kind of potentially look like Trump, and then we just replace their face in post-production. We use computer technology. I don't really understand how they quite do it, but they basically put the face of Trump on top of whoever you have. And so yeah, it turned out quite good. It was a lockdown project because we had to find a way to do a music video that was not using and involving loads of people, because that just wouldn't have been possible at the time. So this was quite a interesting way to do it, just really spending the budget on the post-production, and then just coming up with an idea that's quite simple, really. The way that we shot it was just having one of the fans of the band called Steve. He was dressed up as a baby, and then we found like a Trump wig.
I was quite impressed with the fact that he actually physically worked really well with the face. It was I thought maybe you'd spent a lot of time searching for somebody who looked just right for it.
No, I think we just thought of we were just trying to find someone who was kind of up for it, you know, like it's hard to find who would want to wear a nappy on camera. It was just like, yeah, I'll do it, like whatever. Like we bought him a beer, and it was, you know, that was about it. And you want to, like, for something like that, you want someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously. And he wasn't very comfortable at first, but then he kind of got into it and had a bit of fun with it. So yeah, it was a bit weird for him. Like he doesn't really do like things in front of cameras, and you know. But yeah, we did it in the end. It was quite exciting when we watched the whole thing back with the new face. It was really weird to think.
Yeah, it works really well, and as I say, I really like the song as well. It's got great. I mean, the lyrics are fantastic. It's a really good song.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I've been watching some of your videos of that on YouTube and listening to some of your stuff. I've got to say, apart from American Dream, I really like Whiskey. Whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's interesting for me because I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I find it interesting listening to people's to songs that are about alcohol or about sort of drinking and that sort of thing. I find listening to other people's experiences around them or thoughts on it quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, Whiskey is definitely one of those songs. I think I actually wrote it during the time where I was giving up alcohol. So I wasn't quite sober. So it's like that kind of painful time where you know that you should stop drinking. And I felt like, you know, I don't know how bad I was in terms of alcohol, but it wasn't taking me into a good place when I was drinking. And I'd often have those like really high highs and then really low lows. And I think, a lot of people use it to escape, right? It's just kind of like an escapist thing that you do, and it's very accepted. But for me, I was just like, oh, I don't like the person that I am when I drink. I used to just say really weird things to people and hurt people. So that's gone now. But there's a lot of pain, right, in that song. I think it comes across. There's some pain there, using alcohol to make yourself feel okay and feel better. How you're feeling. So that song, I think, is still quite powerful. When we sing it and perform it, I definitely still feel how I used to feel with alcohol.
You can definitely feel you can feel that it comes from a place of knowledge rather than just a song about drinking. It comes from somebody who's actually experienced that kind of those highs and lows and the whole depth of feeling from it. I really like it. It's really good. Also, No Pleasure, Only Pain, I like.
Oh, good, yeah.
That's very good. Paper Cut was one of my favourites. I don't know why, but I really liked that song, and I love the video.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to remember the video now.
And there also a live film of you doing Make It Out Alive. I really like that. It's so often you see bands put up live videos and they don't quite capture the sound, or the one of them suffer either the look of it or the sound of it. But I like that because it's got a really good sound to it, and it's got a great look as well. You know, you can see everything that's going on, you can hear what's going on clearly. It's a really good live video.
Oh, good. Yeah. I
really like that. So where are you now with the whole lockdown thing now having gone to a large extent? Are you out gigging again? Are you recording again?
So we just did a tour. So we did a tour with Your Mum, Healthy Junkies, and Polly Pickpockets. So we just finished that last week. We did 12 dates in a month, and yeah, that was quite intense because we haven't gigged for quite a while. So that like quite interesting to do, to get back into it again. So and then from there, like, I definitely feel a bit more inspired now to write, because for a long time, just with COVID and just being shut indoors, I just didn't, like, there was no creativity, there was nothing really coming out of me. I just sort of felt a bit like, I don't know, tired, I guess, exhausted. I think with that time, I just felt like I was trying to survive every day, and just having another thing that I had to do, like write some songs, seemed like a bit too much. Just wanted to get through each day, and it felt like a lot. But now, now definitely, I feel like we're writing again, and we have a new single coming out in May, which we have, like, we released as part of like a lockdown thing, but we have never done like a proper release with a music video and a physical release and digital release. So it'll be like properly out there now. Now we're back listening to music, and seems like it's slightly more normal. the a bit more back to the way it was before COVID, so that's why we're releasing it now. And then just like writing, recording probably again, and then booking shows again. So it's good. It's a bit more, feels a bit more like we know what we're doing again now. So
I mean, are you planning to do work on singles at the moment, or are you planning for another album?
So we have 2 more singles to release. So there's one in May, and then we're going to we need to start thinking about the next one. It's done, but it's just like thinking about like a music video, because we like to release videos as well. And then we're writing other stuff, so I think we'd like to record like probably a good volume of songs. So when we will do that is a question mark. Hopefully we'll start demoing stuff. That's when, like, when you start recording stuff at home, then you know, like, feels like you have something physically almost ready to go into the studio with. So like it will be soon that we start doing that, because Mickey Danger's already worked on a few songs, and it's just having time, you know, because we both work full time, and then I train a lot with Paul, you know, there's just so many other things. And when you're gigging, like, it's not really the time that you start going and trying to record things. It's just too manic. So it's just, having the time to do it, but we will. We got asked a lot of that on the tour. When's your next thing? When's your next album? When's your next... No pressure.
I mean, you're planning on doing a few more gigs before that sort of gets out, though?
So we're playing at Byline Festival. There's like a London date, that's on the 30th and 29th of April. We're playing there, but it's on the weekend of, I think it's like the bank holiday weekend. and then the actual single will be released end of May.
Cool.
There's some time before that, so we still need to do all the stuff that needs to be done before you release a single. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And I mean, is there a long-term plan for the band, or are you kind of playing it by ear and seeing how each year goes?
Long-term plan, we just want to be playing bigger stages, having more people come to the show. I mean, you just scale it up gradually, like with any business, right? But really, for me, my main goal is just to write music that I'm kind of happy with and proud of, and that shows some vulnerability, and that maybe just try and do another record that is, that we can push, save, and then try and push it in the same way we did with the first album. But yeah, that's already going to take us about 3 years.
Yeah, no, that's. I think if one of the things that the whole COVID situation has taught a lot of people is the fact that making plans for longer than like a year or two sometimes isn't necessarily a good idea, because of the fact that something can come along and stop you in your tracks.
Oh yeah, I mean, who knows? Because if you look at how it is in Ukraine at the moment,
yeah.
I mean, you could think about tomorrow sometimes, and that's probably enough. And I think sometimes, yeah, you can try and plan ahead too far. I do feel like it's good to have goals and stuff though, but I thought over COVID, I kind of felt like, oh, we'll plan this. Oh, that got moved. Oh, we'll plan this. Oh, okay, that got moved. So it was a bit, it was really difficult, and it was really soul destroying a little bit, because you'd put all this work into putting a tour together, and then it would just get moved, and you're just like, So yeah, I think that's probably why I wasn't inspired to write anything. So I was just like, oh, like, what's the point? I'm going to write something and then not going to be able to record it anyways. And there was this whole feeling of just being like, oh.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely.
For everyone. Push me to the edge, so I make my head.
Right, well, thank you very much for joining me on the show. It's been really good talking to you.
Welcome.
I hope everything goes really well with the recording and with the singles, and for the future with the album and future gigs. Look forward to seeing you around. Hopefully I can come and see you live sometime, because that'd be quite nice.
Yeah, where are you based? Where are you based?
I'm based in Rainham in Essex.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, getting into London isn't too much of a problem for me at all.
Cool. Yeah. We've got some London dates to announce soon. Mainly just playing festivals over the summer, but towards the end of the year we'll start doing maybe a couple of shows again.
Yeah, that's cool. So I would say to anybody watching, listening, check out Tokyo Taboo. I will put links up, as I always do, to social media and YouTube channel, so that you can listen to their stuff, watch their videos, and get information about the band and where they're playing and things like that. Thank you very much, and I hope everything goes well for you, and we'll see you again soon.
See you soon.
Okay. Thanks to everyone watching. Bye.
Bye.
Talking Music with Big Andy.
Oh.